Welcome in. This is Follow Everton. I am Chad, coming to you from across the pond. Join me for today's stream is Corey, one of our newest contributors. I think if you didn't see him on the post match for Leicester, you will absolutely love him. He's a great new addition to the stream, so we're excited to have him here. And I have a feeling, Corey, that you have some major thoughts on the big news of the week, and that's of course Dan Friedkin. The Friedkin Group has agreed a deal with Farhad Moshiri to take over principal ownership of Everton. It looked like Moshiri was deciding between the approach from John Textor and Dan Friedkin, went with what he believed to be the best deal for the future of the club. That's Dan Friedkin. So where are you thinking? Where are you sitting, Corey? How do you think what do you think so far about Dan Friedkin?
All positive relative to where we've been. I think compared to Texter, he's a much better option compared to the mysteriousness and the lack of knowledge and just being in that middle ground between 777, Moshiri. The fact that we don't really have a board who can do anything, just getting someone in, and the fact that Friedkin is probably the best of the lot so far. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm relieved, but it will be once it's done.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. We're in that waiting period now where we're just waiting on the Premier League and the FA to approve it. By all accounts, he's going to be approved. He's in good standing with the footballing community in general. He has ownership of other teams in France and in Italy. So this should fly through the approval process. And the one thing that I am thrilled about is John Textor seemed like a perfectly decent option. Dan Friedkin is significantly richer than John Textor, significantly so. And he is willing to invest in the club in cash just for equity. He's taking on no additional debt. He's buying up the debt. It looks like he has an agreement in place with ACAP, which owns the debt from 777, and that is currently in litigation with Leadenhall. Here, I believe in the States. And then he has come to agreement with rights and media funding as well, that we owe about £200 million still to rights and media funding. So it looks like he's going to settle that debt as well. It seems pretty remarkable that we've gone from being in a position of just having to take out loans just to get us through to now being in a position where we might be financially sound in a very short time, especially with the new stadium on the horizon. What are you most excited about the possibilities that a Dan Friedkin ownership could bring for Everton?
Well, like you said, there's his financial acumen. He's not like Texter, or although you get a lot of millionaires who've done one invention, invested in certain things and they've done well. Friedkin and his group, you've got a lot of different ventures they've got into, but he seems not exactly self-made, but a lot of his business isn't just strike it rich, unique selling points. Everything from the Toyota distribution system that he's got, from the film studio, it all seems not just one major product. That's what people buy, and that's where you make your money. It seems very much that he's very well running of all his organizations. Now, whether that's him or whether it's the people that he employs to do it, they're all very well run. And I think that's the most important thing with Everton, because of how terribly we've been run, especially financially, and the decisions that have been made. The fact that we've got someone who's probably going to run us properly. I don't want it to be run completely like a business, but we need someone who, with financial nous, who's going to run it. And then we can get football people who know the club in on the board and in the back room who can help steer it within the Everton values.
Oh, wouldn't that be? I think one thing that doomed us for years was Bill Kenwright wanting to be in the football decisions, Denise Barrett-Baxendale even to an extent, Farhad Moshiri having relationships with certain agents. And it certainly seems like the Friedkin Group is not going to do anything like that. They're going to let the football people make the footballing decisions. And I agree with what you said. I don't know the full extent of his portfolio. I would imagine it's diverse. The basis for what how the Friedkins have built their fortune, their enterprise, has been on the backs of Toyota car dealerships along the Gulf states of the United States. So think Texas mainly, but then anything else that's like a kind of the Gulf of Mexico, Alabama, Mississippi, that area. Those dealerships are highly profitable, and very, very consistent. So Dan Friedkin has been able to extend himself into other areas like the film studio because he's able to do that off the back of the success of those car dealerships. And what is so relieving to me, I guess it would be the right word, is that this owner is not at the whim of Alistair Osmanoff or some other millionaire billionaire that's actually pulling all the strings and is the real source of the money. Dan Friedkin has his own money, and it will be controlling the purse strings for Everton. So does this mean, Corey, that if this gets approved in December, that we could actually see an active transfer window for Everton?
I don't think it's going to be Man City kind of level spending. I think we probably will get a little bit more activity than we would typically do. Everton, I mean, the January transfer window past couple of years has been very, very quiet anyway. I probably expect that to be the case this year. But maybe one or two areas that we definitely need to strengthen in, we'll be able to maybe do a little bit better. Maybe we'll be bargain hunting, or we'll at least get the signing in early because we can kind of put that first payment down, whereas previously we've been scraping and scrimping at the bottom of the barrel, trying to find someone with no upfront payment, loans, and things like that. So not so much a bigger spending window. I reckon that'll wait till the summer once everything will get itself settled and we move in, potentially with a new manager. But maybe the speed of the way things happen, the efficiency, will be eased with the cash flow situation.
Mm-hmm. I imagine it'll really be dependent as to where Everton find themselves in the table as well. I mean, Dan Friedkin is going to want to come in and secure his investment, and his investment is only this value if it maintains its status in the Premier League. If it falls down to the Championship, Everton are not worth as much of a club. They're not worth as much as a club. So I'm hoping that a January transfer window under Dan Friedkin could look like we're keeping Jarek Branthwaite. B, maybe we're able to offer Dominic Calvert-Lewin a contract he'll actually accept this time. If we decide that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the path that we want to go with for a number 9, and then hopefully bringing in more incomings. I know Kevin Thelwell was asked in a recent interview, what are we doing in the fullback position? And he said that it just wasn't able to be prioritized because there were other areas of the pitch that they needed to focus their attention and their money on. So hopefully maybe we can get some support there, another left back, some additional support at right back, and then really round out this club enough so just to kind of keep them up. And hopefully Sean Dyche can start getting some points right now. So, hey, real quick, let me give you a quick reminder. This is Follow Everton. I'm Chad. We're here with Corey. Give us your thoughts on what you think about Dan Friedkin and the potential for new ownership at Everton. We'll start going through some of these comments right now. Here we have Sean. I'm glad of this news, but this is Everton. We constantly get the rug pulled out from under us. Corey, do you feel like we get the rug pulled out from under us all the time?
Yes, there's a constant saying, Everton that. And look, we might have it in our own heads and we might see it when it's not actually there. But look, we can just see that from the times we've been leading this year. We had Ancelotti. The only time we had Ancelotti and James Rodriguez, there was no football that people could actually attend to, all behind closed doors. Look, our best years, we've always been knocking at the ceiling, always pipped by to fourth place by Liverpool. I think we've always had a bit of bad luck, but hopefully this is the light at the end of the tunnel. But I don't blame Sean. I don't blame anyone for not believing it till they see it actually announced officially.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, how many times have we seen Farhad Mashiri enter into exclusivity agreements, 777, and then potentially Texter, you could argue if that was even there was an exclusivity agreement there. And then who were the other gentlemen that were like, one was a sports agent. MSP, thank you. There was that
links
one.
To AJ Bell.
AJ Bell, George Downing. Yeah. So
I think the main thing is. Sorry, make one.
No, I was going to say, so this might be the one that actually gets done. I think this is the first instance where we've actually had the papers signed. So This is the farthest it's ever gone. Yeah,
I think the most promising thing about this is, look, 777, they look dodgy from the off. There's a reason it took as long as it did. We were just willing to give them far too much time. I think we should have cut our losses a lot sooner with them, but I understand loans and finances. In regard to the first time with Friedkin, they looked in, they weren't happy. But the most promising thing is that they've already done most of the due diligence. So you'd like to think that's going to, well, it's already moved a lot quicker because they've approved everything. But there's no skeletons in the closets. The financial stuff has already been agreed. Fantastic. That's a big, massive hurdle that we were most worried about. And then in terms of approval, well, the FCA should have no issues approving it. He already owns multiple clubs. UEFA, look, if Roma passed, and they're a really, really prestigious club, a lot of history, very similar to Everton. I can't see any reason why UEFA would have an issue. Our biggest stumbling block on what will take the most time is getting past the Premier League. And that's without any kind of conspiracy theories. Just in general, I think that'll be the longest, hardest point to get through.
So before we tie up Friedkin, I did want to get to this point, and I'm trying to go back on my phone and try to find the article so I don't get the names wrong. But there's been some unsettling or some discontent at Roma in recent weeks. They recently, I believe their general manager or their director of football has stepped down after some discontent over the firing of the manager. So does anything that is happening at Roma right now concern you about the way that the Friedkin group run their football operations?
Not particularly. I mean, Italian football in general can be quite contentious. Italian football fans are very passionate. They're very, very involved. No more so than Roma, especially when it comes to one-club players. Now, look, you had Francesco Totti, the king of Rome. He is adored in Roma, in Rome. And then Daniel De Rossi, who comes after him, he's a one-club man. He is absolutely adored. Maybe not legendary status like Totti, but he is. So for that to happen, there's going to be people in the back room who are going to be upset. Yeah, look, I said Italian football, especially Rome and Roma, is contentious. I'm not disparaging them because Rome is possibly my favourite team in Italy, but that is the kind of atmosphere you've probably been working in for years. That's just part of the culture. So, no, doesn't concern me.
I think they have to be your favorite team now. If you were undecided and maybe favoring Roma, you have to consider Roma your favorite team in Italy now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a little bit of ancestry going back there, so I'm a little bit of a Italophile. So yeah, Roma's always my team growing up. A bit of distance over the past couple of years, but I think that's a full distance with football. Once Rafa Benitez come in.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what the comments we have here. So, some of the comments want to steer us a little bit away from Dan Friedkin and the takeover. Maybe we could kind of sprinkle around some of these other topics as well. And I also, Corey, I want to get your thoughts on how Everton have played to date. I haven't had a chance to do a show with you yet, so I want to hear what you're thinking of the way we're playing right now. But will Everton sack Sean Dyche? What do you think, Corey? You go first.
Not until the Friedkin group come in, at least. Now, he'll definitely be staying in the job. Machiri won't want to rock the boat. He'll just want to keep things nice and easy, ticking along, unless we absolutely bomb and we don't pick up points over the next 6-7 games before December. There's a couple of easy results there, or not easy, but favourable teams to play. We've had I wouldn't say too difficult, but Brighton, really solid team with the amount of Spurs. So they're games which Everton board, and Dyche certainly will mitigate as we've had a tough start. There's teams above us who have played similar games, easier games, an easier run, and they're not far behind. So we can certainly do some catching up. If we don't get caught up by December, maybe January when the Friedkin group come in, they may want to try something different.
Yeah. Did you find it interesting? Because, when we started hearing news late last week that Dan Friedkin had entered the conversation again. And then, of course, that is coming right after John Textor being very vocal about his interest in Everton. It seemed like things were moving and we were going to get some news about this takeover in the near future. Around this same time, before we got confirmation that Dan Friedkin was going to be the new principal owner of Everton, there was an interesting story that dropped about Graham Potter being interested or would be willing to come to Everton and take on that job. I found it curious timing. And as you often know, a lot of times conversations are had in quiet rooms and and people start feeling managers out, directors of football out in advance of these kind of takeovers. Did it strike you as odd, or is it just a coincidence? And what do you think about Graham Potter and his potential fit at Everton?
Look, it's hard to say. It most likely is just going to be media spin. They'll see we've got some poor results. We've got someone coming in. Perfect chance for them to put some nice, easy stories out. Everton need a new manager. Potter is probably someone the fans want. With it all being positive, it's probably the kind of guy they'd lead towards because it all fits in. But Potter, I know there's a lot of people saying David Moyes, Graham Potter. I think you've got to choose which way you're going to go down, what route. I personally, especially moving into the new stadium, I want a new era. I want us to be a bit more forward thinking. Doesn't need to be tiki-taka football. Just needs to be a solid culture in terms of how you want to play, a proper identity. I think Graham Potter will give that as long as we give him the time and the fans don't get on his back. And I think he's a very, very good manager. Going to Chelsea was the wrong thing. He's a good manager, but did he really have the name to manage all them egos? At Everton, it's not going to be as difficult. I think he's my personal pick for Iwadad, definitely.
Oh, I would be over the moon for Graham Potter. Just his style of play would be so refreshing after now all this time. Friedkin Lampard really being ineffective, and then now Sean Dyche having just a hideous kind of style of play where it's just so pragmatic and unattractive to watch. I don't really, to be honest, I don't really give a shit if it looks like good football. I just want the wins, but it's not like Sean Dyche is doing all of that either. Oh, here we go, Emma. Thank you for reminding me. There was also a Southgate rumor. I think this one is even more recent. Gareth Southgate, no longer England manager. I think we would both prefer Potter. Where do you sit on Southgate?
Yeah, I mean, Southgate suffers at England level anyway, at international level. He suffered from a lot of the same critiques. I found over the Euros, I felt it was just like being an Everton fan again, listening to my own personal opinions as well, where he sticks with his favourites. He does play a fairly negative game, and he just wants to grind the results out at any way necessary, as opposed to an identity again in terms of the game. And yeah, look, he has favourites. He'll be screaming at the television for him to put certain players on, players who probably would do a job if he wasn't so narrow-minded in how he was thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. Look at Ryan's watching. You can tell Ryan's watching. He's dropping comments. Hey, Ryan, you like the kit? I got NDI on the back too. I had to do it. He is one of the more exciting players that we've had in recent years. So I had to go ahead and get Iliman NDI on the shirt. That is why Keating keeps getting started now. Peter, you have lots of comments in here. I would love to know what you're thinking. You often have some poignant, critical comments about Everton. I would love to hear where you sit with Dan Friedkin and his potential takeover of Everton. What else does Ryan say? Guys, you still using StreamYard whilst Ryan works out the situation with Restream. So real quick, we don't know if we're going to continue on StreamYard moving forward. We're going to continue to follow Everton. We just don't know what medium or what platform we're going to do to bring it to you. So just stay tuned. Right now we're sticking with StreamYard, but we might be making a switch in the near future. But just know that Ryan is definitely going to find the best solution that'll still get you guys commenting and then bringing, our commentary to you. All right, Peter, what do we got? I would take Moyes back in a heartbeat. Yes, he's a step backwards, but sometimes a step backward is a step in the right direction. At least with Moyes, you guarantee good recruitment. What do you think about that, Corey?
A bit difficult in the modern age. Obviously, within the age of sporting directors, likes of Kevin Felwell, I think it's been a fairly well known at West Ham that he struggled to work with the director of football model. So I think there might be an issue there. I do think the director of football model is the way to go because it does, again, help to keep a certain identity, a certain consistency. Not that we've seen that, but I hope that over time Felwell will be able to incorporate that. I don't think Moyes would be working well in regards to that situation. I like Moyes. Obviously, look, in my living memory, he's given me the best times, consistently getting into Europe, the best of the rest, essentially. But for me personally, look, Peter might have his own preferences in terms of the football, which is perfectly fine. I just want a different kind of identity, a different kind of style of football. And I think Potter's really good at managing the club as a whole, again, managing the identity. I think he'd work really well that way. Moyes less so. But again, it's personal preference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree with you. It would feel comforting having David Moyes back, someone that you felt confident that was going to make it, for the most part, the proper footballing decisions. Yeah. And that's something that I think we've been a little frustrated with Sean Dyche recently. And he does have an eye in recruitment. He's certainly brought in a lot of talented players at West Ham in recent years and did so for Everton. There is still something, though, for wanting a fresh voice, a new voice, someone that you think will resonate with younger players. And I think that's probably where the Friedkin group will go. I can't imagine them bringing back a retread like David Moyes, but I guess it's all popular. Look at this, Corey. You got your first compliment from Becky here. You're nice to listen to.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
He's doing a great job.
Someone tell me, Mrs.
She's throwing me the love too, though. Dyche's diaper must be full right now. Absolutely, Sean, because I don't see a circumstance aside from Sean Dyche going on a historic run here in this season where Sean Dyche gets to keep his job. This is the last year of his contract. And I imagine the Friedkin group are going to have an idea of how they want this team to be structured. So it could even mean that Kevin Thelwell is on the outs and they bring in a new director of football and a coach that will match their kind of philosophies. I can't see a world where Sean Dyche survives this. I can see one where Kevin Thelwell does, but I think that's still to be decided. Corey, where do you stand on Kevin Thelwell? I think we're both in agreement that Sean Dyche can go, but Kevin Thelwell, say or go.
Yeah, Sean Dyche, look, he most likely will be gone end of the season. I think the stars are aligned in terms of new owner, new stadium, his contract finishing. Thelwell, I'm happy to give him more time. I think he's worked with a lot of his hands tied behind his back, and he's brought in some good signings. Ilbunum seems quite astute. Lindstrom seems like a good loan. Iliman Dye, although we were after him last year, very much seems like a Thelwell buy, someone he really likes. So I'm happy with the players he's brought in. Even Ashley Young, look, he was brought in as a free. Yeah, he's aging, covers a lot of positions. I wasn't overjoyed when we got him, but it makes a lot of sense. The fact he keeps getting picked over other players as the manager as opposed to the director of football. And if Young was kept as a bit part squad player, needed as a last resort, he'd be appreciated a lot more. The boos aren't for him, or the size aren't for him when he comes out. It's for the fact he's brought on over other players. So overall, Thelwell's done a good job considering the resources and the situation available to him. I'd give him a chance.
Yeah, I feel like I'm thinking the same as you. If you look at some of the names that have been rumored that we haven't been able to come to terms with, those are exciting names. So Mohamed Kudus is probably the first one on that list. I think he would have looked incredible in a blue shirt and would have done wonders in our lineup. So I think Kevin Thelwell is identifying the right type of players. It looks like he had liked Iliman Ndiaye for quite a while, and we see exactly the kind of player he is. We're seeing pieces, or we're seeing an idea of what Lindstrom was intended to be or what he could be. So I think Kevin Thelwell certainly has the right eye. It's just he's been severely handcuffed by our financial limitations and hasn't been able to make the move. So maybe in January, if the Friedkin group do get control of the club and they do have some money to spend to keep us up, Kevin Thelwell will be able to make a move or two. And could it be Wilfred Nato? Could it be... I don't even know. I don't know who's going to be available come January, but you have to imagine there might be some people available that could potentially make a difference. Let's see. What other comments do we have here? Thelwell gone. Emma, you're ruthless today. Ruthless. Yes. David, fans pay, invest a lot, always expect more. And we should. Should we not?
Clues in the badge.
Absolutely. I think if we're going to spend hard-earned money on tickets and shirts and just our time and our energy and our enthusiasm investing in this club, I think we should be rewarded. And that's not always going to be with wins, but it should certainly be with effort. And it should be with a mind towards running a sustainable kind of footballing operation that's not going to give us all heart attacks along the way like we've had in recent years. All right, Corey, let's pivot to the season and the club where it currently stands. We got some news, I believe yesterday, that Gana Gay is back. I believe his father recently passed away, so our condolences to him. But Gana Gay is back, and it could potentially be in the squad, in the lineup this weekend. Nathan Patterson and Jared Branthwaite played with the under-21s. Branthwaite went the full 90. Patterson, I believe, went about 60. And they both looked okay. So do you feel a little bit better moving forward now that we're starting to get some of our numbers back?
Yeah, I think the most important part is Branthwaite. Keane's is an okay deputy, but he's bad luck. He's bad juju. Even when he plays well, there always seems to be a mistake, or at least a happening, an instance that happens because of him. Even when he plays well, other players around him seem to play poor. The stats prove that. I don't mean any ill wish to the guy, because he seems like a really, really nice fella. Probably one of the more down-to-earth seeming footballers. But it's football. Football's cutthroat, and you really need that solidity at the back. I believe Jared provides that confidence boost and that composure at the back that allows the rest of the back line to play well. Allows Jordan to play to his best, be at his most confident. We were built under defensive stability on Sean Dyche. The fact we haven't got that's been probably our biggest issue. Branthwaite coming in hopefully should resolve that. Patterson's hard to say, because has he really ever got the game time and the chance under Dyche anyway? As he is kind of fullback, he's a bit more attacking, and especially with Lindstrom, I think he may still use him a little bit less, because Lindstrom will provide that width. The most important part is Jared Branthwaite.
Yeah, absolutely. He's our best player. So anytime you're able to get your best player back in your lineup, you're just going to be improved significantly. I think you're right about Nathan Patterson. I don't know if he even plays in the current setup. We saw James Garner at right back last time out. We know there are other options there. Roman Dixon hasn't performed badly. And of course, Seamus is going to come back at some point. Regardless of Sean Dyche's loyalty to Ashley Young, it seems like he may just be backing up Vitaly Mikolenko when everyone is all healthy and firing. So I still don't see a lot of opportunity for Nathan Patterson to get games. I was hoping that he would make his way out on loan or something for this year, but we'll see. It's very exciting though that Jared Branthwaite is coming back. I do have to bring up one comment here from Rod. He I can counter all of that with Neil Maupay. And I will say, yes, I think we said a lot of nice things about Kevin Thelwell, but I will insist that Neil Maupay was Frank Lampard's doing. I think Frank Lampard was looking for any option that he knew. Danny Ings, Maupay. That did not seem like a Kevin Thelwell signing to me. That seemed like something that Frank Lampard was trying to push through.
Yeah, and also again, hands tied behind his back. Maupay may have been 9th or 10th on his list for all we know. It could have been the only player that we could go with such little upfront payment. Same with Beto. The rumours were that we wanted Garassi. He was happy to come and join us as well before that massive season last season. But the fact that the upfront payments was like more than 10 million, which is ridiculous, that we couldn't pay that, meant that we went for Beto, who Geordie's still out for him, in my opinion. But look, Garassi's already proved himself after one season that he can at least score goals at a top level. Mm-hmm. So that's for me. It's not Thelwell's fault per se. It's again, it's the resources available to him had his hands tied behind his back.
Mm-hmm. So Corey, let's game it out then. If we're going to have this coming weekend, it looks like most of the squad should be fit, maybe not necessarily in form. How do you line up? How do you line up this weekend?
So Patterson, although I don't think Dyche favours him, I would play him for the rest of the season. As long as he's fit, he'd be my go-to. Just play him through bits of bad form, just coach him, we can let him learn. He's still fairly young. He's had a couple of setbacks, so play him right back. Malenko's fit, play him. If not, Ashley Young, Branthwaite, Tarkowski, of course, Pickford in goal. Central midfield for me, Mangala is my main go-to for that central midfield role. Thought he'd done fantastic on the weekend. He'd done okay against Southampton. He gives that little bit of solidity and that the ability to clean up at the back that Onana does, granted without the technical ability on the ball. The next central midfielder, it's up in the air. Wouldn't mind Garner, wouldn't mind Decore, and Gay as well. Wouldn't mind. But then the three behind the striker, in front of Calvert-Lewin, Ndiaye, McNeil in the number 10, and Lindstrom. I think you should keep going with that. It's seeming to work. I think it's only going to get stronger. They're only going to start linking up better. And I can see potentially Calvert-Lewin enjoying his football if that happens and wanting to sign another contract.
Yeah, it's it gives me some hope moving forward, because the lineup that you just put out there seems like a decently strong lineup capable of competing in the Premier League. It's interesting that you said Mangala, that you would have Mangala locked into the midfield and then maybe potentially Gana Gay. Do you feel like they can play together? They seem like a little repetitive.
No, so I think Mangala will happily sit back a bit deeper. Now, I know they're both holding midfielders, but Gana Gay likes to press further up the field. I see James Garner and Gana Gay as fairly similar kind of players. Yeah, holding midfielders, but they both want to press a little bit higher. They both want to chase the ball a bit more. I do think James Garner's got a bit more technical ability, and Gana Gay more defensive nous. But in terms of how they want to play, they want to push. Same with Decore, essentially. All three of them will probably want to chase the ball. Mangala, I've seen him, he's a bit happy to sit back and sweep up behind that midfield line.
Do you think we've seen the last of Tin Irabunum this, maybe not this season, but at least in the near term? He was getting nearly every minute possible to start the season while the numbers were slim, but it seems like Sean Dyche may prefer others, just knowing his kind of penchant for liking more seasoned players.
There'll be other chances, especially in late on as a substitute. I think in games, especially at home, maybe where we need a little bit more possession, not where we're under the cosh, but where we can kind of take the game by the scruff of the neck, that's where he'll come on. Because, yeah, he plays central midfield, but he wants to get on the ball and go forward a little bit more. So when you can kind of take off a more defensive player, sacrifice some bit of defensive responsibility and put him on, that's when you can get away with that. Maybe if the team's got 10 men behind the ball, and Ipswich, maybe Southampton, then, yeah, Irabunum will have that place there. Sean there, Irabunum in the midfield on Saturday. I'd certainly have him potentially to come on in the second half as a substitution if need be. Yeah, he'd be my ace in the hole in midfield as an attacking outlet.
Yeah, agree. And then, of course, there is Dele in that Sean Dyche interview with Julia this past weekend, or this maybe last week. She did bring up Dele. It's been hard to get reliable information on him. I know Sean Dyche has been asked about him at press conferences and been pretty coy. It does seem like Dele wants to eventually play for Everton. It does seem like there is interest in bringing him into the squad. Do we think this happens in the relatively near future? Where do you see Dele fitting into this team?
It sounds harsh, but I don't. And that's nothing against him. I think he just spent so much time out. Look, I'm very happy for the club to be there to support him in his fitness. And if he can play for us, he's going to be good enough. Fantastic. It's just a lot of time out for a player to have and then come back to Premier League football, especially with the number 10 options now. Ndiaye will probably be able to drop in there Lindstrom, Decore, Irabunum, and McNeil. So I think the options are there, and I think it's only going to get stronger. I think for Dele to come back and get to that level, it's going to be difficult. If we offer him a contract, I'll see it out. I'll happily support any Everton player, especially someone who's been what Dele's been through. We need to support him. But if he actually makes that step up and becomes our number 10, I don't see it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited about the potential of Dele and what he could potentially mean for this team. If he's able to come back and find the form that he had in previous years, especially at Tottenham, then he's a real player. He's a real difference maker. He's someone that could make Dominic Calvert-Lewin all the better. But I'm probably not. I'm probably if you have to be realistic, you have to imagine that Dele may never be that player again.
Exactly. I mean, look, when he was at his best, at his height, he was enigmatic. He was a game winner. He could do things. The only one on the park who could do special things, not to the same level, of course, but same way that James Rodriguez, he could do nothing all game and he'd do something absolutely magical. That's the kind of player Dele Alli was at the time. But with the amount of time he's been out and things like that and what's gone on, I just think it's going to be too difficult for him to get to that point.
Yeah, agreed.
Fingers crossed it does.
Yeah, lastly about the side, I wanted to talk about the move of Dwight McNeil to that number 10, that attacking midfielder role. The funny thing about Dwight is that we have seen him now all over. He played in left back against, was it Doncaster, I believe, in the cup match?
It's Southampton.
Was it Southampton? I'm sorry, that's right,
Southampton.
Yeah, and of course, we've seen him on the left wing. We've seen him move central. We've seen him right, not so much under Sean Dyche, but we've seen him on the right side as well. Where do you like Dwight McNeil the most? I know there's been some stats about his chance creating being some of the highest in the Premier League this season. Do you like Dwight in this central role?
I'm liking the look of it at the moment. Yeah, when the talks was going on about this all through last season and in the summer, there's been a lot of pros and a lot of fours, people on different sides. I was skeptical just because I'm playing the number 10 role who only has 1 foot. It's difficult. There's only one way for him to go. And I know he's really good at manipulating it, so he always uses left foot. He's like an expert at that. But the fact he is so one-footed was a massive concern for me in the number 10 role. But he's doing well. I think the fact that Iliman Ndiaye is right-footed and he likes to come in, it allows then the space on the wing for McNeil to act a bit like a Mazzala and a false winger and drop out wide, cross at times. It adds that little bit of inconsistency and doubt in the opponents. So the system works well for McNeil at the moment, and I'm happy to carry on. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, agreed. One thing I've noticed about Dwight is that recently he has stopped dribbling backwards so frequently. Yeah. Did you notice that he would take like 10, 20, 30-yard dribbles back and completely negate any kind of progression that we had made in possession? So hopefully Sean Dyche has gotten to him and told him to be more progressive, continuing to push the ball upfield. All right, Corey, before we get out, anything else on your mind about this team?
In terms of the season so far, it's not panic stations yet. I do think Dyche is getting on that thin ice, definitely at the moment. If he went, I don't think a lot of the fan base would be upset. A lot would be happy. Myself, I'm quite indifferent still. The most important part for me, for Everton, for Sean Dyche, is the run of games coming up. There's a lot of winnable games. There's a lot of points to be had. That's what determines our season between now and December, I think, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. All right, we're going to leave it at that. This has been Follow Everton. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all of your comments. I see all of our friends here, so thank you so much for your engagement. This is Corey. I think he's a tremendous new addition. Follow him on social. I imagine, what is that, your Twitter X handle?
Handle?
Yeah. Mine is at CQOTUS, CQ of the United States. Give us a follow and you'll get some Everton opinions there as well. We will be back on Follow Everton with a pre-match on match preview, I believe, on Thursday. I'm not exactly sure who's hosting that one. That one was probably Ryan. And then I will be back on pre-match for Crystal Palace and match reaction. So you're going to get a lot of me this coming weekend. I'm feeling good about Palace, though. Hey, Corey, real quick, give me your prediction for Palace this weekend.
3-1, Everton.
3-1.
Yeah, I think we hit a bit of a stride against them.
Oh, wow. Okay, that I love it. I'm gonna be a little bit more probably realistic. I don't know if we have 3 goals again, 3 goals in us. I'm gonna say 2-1. I'm going to a 2-1 nail biter, and we actually hold on to a 2-0 lead, only conceding the 1.
Fingers crossed to a pumped up Goodison, eh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Great meet. Yeah. Great talking with you, Corey. We'll be back soon, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.